The owner of this X5 says that it's having some trouble starting, intermittent starting on it, low power, what else did he say? Dim headlights, slow cranking engine, so it probably needs a battery. I told him, you know, it might just need a battery. He said that he put a battery in it less than 6 months ago, a genuine BMW battery. So I'm thinking maybe the charging system's got a problem, so let's check it out. So just as suspected, we got a system voltage code P0560. There's another code in here too. I don't know if it's related. Cylinder 4 misfire with fuel cutoff. So what I'm going to do is we'll fix the voltage issue first and clear the codes out and have the customer drive it and see if he does have a misfire, or we'll start it up and we'll drive it and see if we have a misfire. But this code could be set from the low voltage code. Likely we got a bad alternator on this thing. Let's just go down there and check the alternator out for any, and do a visual on the alternator. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is just check for voltage on this thing. I drove it in, so it was a bit slow cranking, but it did start. I'm just gonna check and see if we got a charge going on this thing. I swapped this motor on this thing probably like a year and a half ago. So, and since then, I don't know if I've done anything to this. Yeah, I think I fixed some secondary air injection problem on this thing. And then, so that's pretty much it. So it's been running pretty good for the whole year and a half that we did the motor swap on it. So this seems like this is the first real problem, I guess, in over a year and a half. So let's check it and see if we got if the charging system is working. Let me go find. Well, I can see the voltage is low. Looks like we got like 9 volts. I don't know if you can see that, but definitely running on the battery right now. Alright, so let me remove some of this plastic so I can actually take a look at the alternator and get like a visual, make sure there ain't no broken connectors, or make sure that it works, the wiring is good and the cable to the alternator is secure and all that stuff before we condemn the alternator itself. Alright, well let me go and disconnect the battery on this thing, and the battery's in the trunk, so I'll show you where that is. So the battery's in the trunk in these things. right, so now we got our battery disconnected, and let's start getting the alternator out. Looks like the alternator is going to be in an ungodly location, of course. It's a BMW. But it's all right, we'll get it up. That out of the way. Now we can see our alternator. Alright, so let's get this little electric water pump out. It's sort of a secondary electric water pump on these Beamers. Let's see if we get, I'm trying to keep this stuff attached, if at all possible. Alright, so our new alternator is here. We decided to go with AutoZone because if you see my I'm sick of auto parts stores videos. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description. But I never have a problem warrantying out parts from AutoZone. So if for some reason this alternator fails prematurely, which it probably will nowadays, I won't have a problem, warrantying out this alternator. So shout out to AutoZone for solid warranty practices. Alright, so I got all the electrical disconnected on this thing. We got the power steering reservoir out of the way. I got the electric water pump here out of the way. The secondary electrical water pump. So it looks like all we need to do is unmount this thing and get the belt off. So let's work on getting the belt off first. So let's see. All right, now that we got this off, I can access the tensioner. So I'll detension the belt. I'm gonna use my long tactile. Tecton again. Bust these bolts way at the bottom. Alright, so here we are at the new alternator. As you can see, we got two of them, because when we called the parts store, they asked us which style alternator do we need, and as you can see, we haven't taken it off yet, so we don't know. So we just had them send both styles over, and we'll just return whichever one we don't need. So it looks like there's only two bolts. Looking at the new one, so that's that bottom one we got there, and then that's that real long one we pulled up top. So I know we got all the bolts out, so we could go ahead and start prying and working at that, getting that old one out. That a pry bar can't fix. Got us an old alternator out. Let's go compare this one and see which one is the one we need. Here we are. Looks like this, what is this? A Vallejo is the style that we need. So it's not gonna be this one. It's gonna be this one here. And you can tell too by this little air duct. Because these things have these little air coolers back here, little air ducts. If you look back here, you can see that these are identical, and the middle one is not the same. So this is the one we need, and we'll send that one back. So let's go ahead and get this one installed. Now let's get this alternator in. But before I do that, let me change my gloves. All right, let me blow all this crud out of here first. And then just take a quick look at the connector pins and the battery cable. Make sure those are good. Battery cable's clean. The 2-pin connector looks good. So we can go ahead and install it. fell in place somewhat easy, but there's a little cooler air duct that goes on the back. Let's get that on first. Alright, so the little air duct is on in the back. Let's just get this bottom bolt started at the very bottom. Alright, seems like that one went in. Let me grab a ratchet. Alright, so I just ran that down. Just close enough to be able to get the other bolt through. But before we do that, let's get this belt straightened out. Alright, so I got the belt sorted out. Got it wrapped up around everything. So it looks like the belt is on, the water pump pulley, tensioner, and so I just need to get this idler. Just need to get the idler tensioner on. So I think what I'm gonna do is detension the belt, push this down on the belt, and slide the bolt through. So obviously, if we could have took the hose off, could have took the fan shroud out and a bunch of stuff off, but I don't want to take these hoses off because I don't have any BMW coolant, and it takes a special type of coolant, like the blue coolant, because this block and heads are aluminum, so you got to use some stuff that's so let's get this harsh. And then it's got a little alignment pin right here. Make sure, but just before you lock it down, make sure you line this up. There's a little alignment pin right there. So now that this pin went in right here, you can go ahead and torque the idler all the way down. Alright, so let's, and then the very bottom one also needs to be snugged up as well. Get that one snug, and then let me get an extension along here and get that back one. Alright, so we got the bottom one torqued down, got the top one torqued down. Everything's looking good. Let's see. Next we'll just get our power steering and all that stuff hooked back up. Just blow a little bit of crud off. hook up the back, of course. Get our cable on. Get our electrical plugged in. Get the nut back on that. Snap that down. Alright, this thing's installed. Now we can bury it back in here with all the other stuff. Well, before we do that, let's get our covers, our caps that we took off, put back on. That's one. Alright, so we got those lower caps back on. Let's bolt down on this fluid reservoir for the power steering. So we was able to get this job done without without losing any power steering fluid, which is ATF in this vehicle. So we didn't lose any ATF, anything out of the reservoir here. We didn't lose any coolant while taking the radiator hose off. We didn't disturb the fan or the fan clutch nut, which is difficult to get off, or any other hoses. And that's what we wanted, because it's actually cheaper for the customer if you can avoid that and leave all the fluids in. Obviously, if it can't be avoided, then you gotta do what you gotta do, but if you can avoid it, save the customer a little bit of money and save yourself a little bit of mess and trouble as well. Alright, let's put the electric water pump back in its bracket. Get that plugged up. This hole's back up in here. Alright. So they're looking good. Let's get our air box back on. and we didn't really plan on doing this job, but we're gonna go ahead and finish this up. Stayed a little bit late, so we're gonna go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll call a customer and we'll let them come pick it up. So we know he needs his vehicle for work in the morning or what have you. So as a courtesy to him, since he is a sort of a long-time customer of ours, we'll extend him that courtesy and get this job alternator put in for him real quick and send him on his way. Alright, let's put this the rest of the air cleaner assembly on. Let's see, which way did this thing go on? That completes this portion. Now let's go in the back and hook the battery back up, and we'll fire it up and see if we got voltage. All right, let's hook this stuff up. back in here. Got our old one. Box this up. Send back our core. Now let's fire this bad boy up and see if it's putting out the correct voltage. Get our voltmeter set up. Check it out. Well, it looks like we got voltage going. This alternator works, so that's good. There's a warranty on it.